Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Sunday morning. The fellas got to film in earlier this morning and have to circle back and talk about this Oklahoma-Texas matchup. The Sooners getting it done in what was really just a college football classic. And as a college football fan, you just have to sit back and really enjoy the 3 hours plus of what you just got to watch. Really excited to dig into this one. Now, before we do, again, just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially the Oklahoma fans. You guys have shown so much support to the boys all season long. Y'all know how much we love talking this Oklahoma team. You guys have shown a ton of support. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, let us know in the comment section how you guys are feeling, your big takeaways. We're about to give you some of ours. Without further ado, Dill, I'm going to give you the T-box here. Oklahoma gets it done in the Red River. How we feeling?
Yeah. And what Oklahoma kind of showed is just a competitive resolve and spirit that you really just didn't see last year. It's like this is the type of game, because Texas kind of had their moments where they really started to take over, especially towards the end of the third quarter and into the fourth, where it looked like it wasn't getting out of hand, but it started to feel like Texas was just going to get it done. It was going to be fine. And okay, Oklahoma played well and just fell a little short. But yeah, to bow their backs up, make those 4th and 1 stands on the goal line, and then Dillon Gabriel march him down the field and again, make those plays that even Dillon Gabriel, frankly, wasn't always making last year. Like, you think those times you missed Drake Stoops coming up the sideline against Kansas State, like, to make those big plays and those big moments, that's what Venables and this team need to do as they go on and try to go compete for a national title.
Dill, I went back, watched the film this morning. I have a bunch of notes, but the first thing I have in my notes is this was just a special win for the Brent Venables era in Norman. Right, like last year, you saw a lot of close games where Oklahoma just wasn't really able to get it done in the big moments. They did not play their best football. Oklahoma yesterday, that's exactly what you saw. And we kind of said this to start the season. This is a really talented team. It just needs that confidence, that confidence that they can go win in the big moments. And I think you saw that yesterday. And if they can ride that momentum the rest of the season, I mean, this is one of the most dangerous teams we see in football. An elite defense with an aggressive front seven, with a offense that can hit the explosive play just about as good as anyone in the country. Talk about winning football. 3 turnovers to 0, only penalized 4 times. That was like all the stuff that Oklahoma struggled with mightily last year. They cleaned all of that up. Dill, I want to start on the offensive side of the ball, specifically with Dillon Gabriel. Would love to hear your kind of biggest takeaways from his performance yesterday against Texas.
I mean, he just did everything they needed him to do to get that
gamer.
I mean, big runs and huge moments. I mean, that 3rd and 11 when they were down on their side of the field, like those type plays, he was making them consistently. I thought the accuracy at times maybe could have been better. Obviously, you see the completion percentage wasn't necessarily sky high, but like, again, just picking it up, like doing what he needed to do to win those, like make those winning plays. Yeah, there's certainly things to clean up for him, and I'm sure he knows that. But like that just to me felt like a step where he embodied that competitive spirit that I was almost talking on the outset.
Like the first thing I have, you can talk about some of the throws, but the first thing I have in my note sheet is Dillon Gabriel was a gamer, and that's so like when you talk about college football and like what's important for winning a national title and having like one of those special teams. It starts with the quarterback position. It starts with the quarterback kind of showing up in the biggest moments. And you mentioned it, like whatever Oklahoma needed to get done, Dillon Gabriel was able to do that, whether it was with his legs, whether it was swinging the ball outside. Dillon Gabriel put on just an absolute, I'm going to use the word again, gamer performance, 118 yards rushing. The next thing I want to talk about is Jalil Farouk, a guy that we talked all offseason is kind of going to be that guy. I mean, you talk about your best player showing up in the big moments. Jalil Farouk certainly did that yesterday.
I mean, making huge plays and honestly helping Dillon Gabriel kind of along with when they needed a play, catching a swing pass and making a play with it, taking end arounds, making a play with it. And then obviously being able to adjust to a big deep ball and hit. He's just really rounding his game out. I think last year it felt like, okay, you can use him, get him in space, get him in the flat, and let him go to work with his legs. He obviously can still very much do that, but I feel like you are seeing a refinement in his game in terms of being able to play an overall wide receiver game and really taking up. I mean, he feels like a true number 1 to me right now, not like a a slot gadget player that almost at times it felt like from last year.
That's exactly what I felt like. We kind of were talking about this Oklahoma wide receiver room and like who's going to emerge as that guy. Andrew Anthony's been doing it. Jaleel Farouk certainly did it against Texas, but you look at this Oklahoma offense, especially in the pass catch room, a position we had a ton of question marks heading in. Jaleel Farouk and Andrew Anthony emerge as those dudes. I thought this was Austin Stogner, only 3 catches, but I thought this was his best game, especially blocking on the perimeter. Drake Stoops doing everything he needs to do as well. That's what I was most impressed with is they were just getting the ball to a lot of different playmakers, and all of those guys were making plays. Now, I want to look a little bit more at the run game. We kind of said heading into this game, if you guys listen to the 5 keys for Oklahoma to beat Texas, we said the run game, but it looked a little different, right? Because I don't know if many teams can run right between the tackles at this Texas front seven that is elite. Texas fans, I mean, that's a really special front seven. That's a really special team. But I thought Jeff Lebby in this Oklahoma offense did a really good job, like finding different ways, kind of extensions of the run game to move the ball. I mean, Dillon Gabriel with his legs, you saw some swing passes. Really, really impressive what Jeff Lebby was able to do with the offensive play calling.
And I liked it, and I think that was a big part of not just kind of trying to bash it against the wall going up the middle.
Yeah.
But I will say I was impressed though when they had to take it in the middle and they take that one that right off the goal line and have a 10-yard run from Tawi Walker and to be able to punch the ball in on the inside a handful of times. I thought the interior offensive line, honestly, that was my question coming to this game. Caden Green obviously stepping in. He looked very good. He looks like he's me a guy at some point. But I was very impressed with the physicality of that interior offensive line. I really don't think they let Texas take this game over, which frankly you've seen Texas been doing. Like this,
Texas did it against Alabama. Arguably, like I mean, a lot of people thought that was the best offensive line in the country heading into the season, and we kind of knew like you have your hands full with that Texas front seven. Oklahoma, I thought, majorly up for the task and a massive confidence boost to an offensive line that some of the fans were calling out a little bit. I think
obviously they didn't dominate this game, and we didn't think necessarily they would or have.
I don't think there's an offensive line in the country that dominates this Texas front seven.
No, but they did, like they banged with them. That's what I'd say. They didn't get dominated by any stretch of imagination. So that felt like to me a big like key to that game is just being able to kind of control the time, not control the tempo, but not let the tempo be controlled by Texas in terms of how they were able to beat teams up. Because I just thought they played really well, and that gave everyone else a chance to, again, use the strength in the outside, the Tawi Walkers, being able to get the ball to the perimeter. I thought their interior offensive line gave them a chance to do that.
Knocking the microphone off, a little jacked up Sunday morning. Let's talk a little bit about this defense. And again, this is a unit that continues to make strides after last year. Now, we all said like last year, not really the Brent Venables defense that we expected. This is the Brent Venables defense that we expected, forcing 3 turnovers. Peyton Bowen with knocking the ball out on Quinn Ewers. Like, they're having some true freshmen really step up. But for me, what stands out the most, and this is something, again, we talked a lot about in the offseason, Brent Venables looked at this defense, so we got to get a little bit more physical in the trenches. He goes out and gets a ton of guys in the transfer portal to kind of bolster up that defensive line, going up against arguably the best offensive line in college football with what Texas has. I thought Oklahoma won the battle in the trenches yesterday.
Oh, that defensive line and like the way DeJoun Terry played, unbelievable. Ethan Downs is really good. Bothroyd is really good. So you see some of those transfer impacts. But I mean, everyone was good. They made a lot of negative plays and got a couple sacks. Like it was just, that's like the type of defense Brent Venables essentially.
Yes.
That's how he needed to play. It's how he played at Clemson, and to see again guys really kind of get going and play really physical in the trenches and make negative plays. That was the big thing to me is they just didn't make any negative plays last year. They made a bunch today, and that to me it felt like a big difference what they were doing.
I thought they did a really good job. Another key was like, can they balance playing this aggressive brand that they've been without giving up the big play to Texas? And there was a period where they were getting a little bit chunked up. And again, at some point you just got to say this Texas team is also really good. Like that's a legit top 5 team in the country, I think, with Texas, and Oklahoma was able to get it done. They balanced really well, trying to be aggressive, trying to get downhill, but not also giving up like those massive kind of game-breaking plays. Thought in the back end, the secondary tackled unbelievably. I mean, Coach Sark kind of thrives on getting his guys in space and letting them go make people miss and kind of hit those big plays. Oklahoma in the back end, Billy Bowman, Peyton Bowen, the safeties in general, cornerbacks, I thought tackled tremendously in space, and that was probably a big story in this game.
And also, you talk about the aggression of what they were trying to do. It's like that back end and I mean, they needed to make a couple aggressive plays. You see Gentry Williams jumping around. You see Billy Bowman, like, I don't know what, like,
knocking the ball out. Yeah, just being a dog back there.
Whatever you would call what he did. But yeah, those are the type of plays, again, that we kind of talk like, well, they're doing it this year and they're playing aggressive. And you do need to possibly strike that balance. But it felt like at that point, like those two are two of the bigger plays in the game. I mean, I thought to me that felt like those plays kind of put Oklahoma in there. It was like, 100%. Okay, this is going to be a slugfest, and then you start creating a little bit of doubt, and you're right. Like, you can't go away from that. It needs to be part of what Oklahoma does. It's basically ingrained in what Brent Venables and how he coaches. So I think that was something I almost overlooked. Like, oh, you're giving up a couple of big plays. Don't, like, kind of back off a little bit. You got to play. You got to.
All right, let's go to the second half. Texas has three shots, I believe, from the 1 yard line on the 4th and goal. They run a little like bubble screen, kind of slip screen to Xavier Worthy, and you just that like the kind of the identity of this Oklahoma offense right there, or defense, fires downhill, makes the play. That, I mean, to me, that's kind of what won them the football game, and those type of like the identity of how aggressive this Oklahoma defense is, I think, was on full display in that particular play and sequence, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, because that stand at that goal line, if they don't make that game's over. I don't think they really have much of a chance to win, and they do it. And I think you're right. That just kind of embodies again, maybe a turnaround of what they're doing. And you saw some good players from Oklahoma leave in the transfer portal, and you saw a lot of good guys come in. You kind of wonder, are they just sounding out like, okay, we just need guys who play the way I want to play. And
yes, 100%. That's exactly what it was. You saw, I mean, it could not be a more drastic difference in between how Brent Venables wants to run a program and what Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch did. And so you saw like some guys, it ain't for me, and they left, and Brent Venables gets his guys in. And I thought you saw yesterday, like those guys who came in wanted to play Brent Venables style defense, and they did it at a high level. Dill, you look at the rest of Oklahoma's schedule. Oklahoma plays like this. There's not a team in the Big 12 that really can beat them. If you're asking me, you're going to see a rematch of this game later on in the season, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it feels like it's got to be. I think the Big 12, the Kansas State type team, the TCUs, like they're not playing at nearly the level they were last year. And frankly, Oklahoma and Texas have just cranked what they're doing way up, and they're back to close. Like when it was the Texas Oklahoma show and nobody else mattered. That's kind of where these two programs have gotten themselves back to, and yeah, obviously they're going off the SEC. They need to be kind of at this level if they're going to go be competitive how they want to be. But I think you're right. We're probably going to see this again. It's probably going to be a really fun game again. And yeah, I mean, you just got to be excited about where Oklahoma's going, because again, you're just seeing a very different team in just 1 year.
In 1 year, that's probably my biggest takeaway as well. I want to I'll say this, to close it out. This was just an Oklahoma team that can really make some noise in the college football playoffs and the postseason. I wasn't quite sure if they had the guys. I think we got our answer yesterday. If Dillon Gabriel plays like the gamer that he is, this is a team that I think is still continuing to get better. And if they kind of reach that potential towards the end of the season, they are going to be making some absolute noise. Appreciate the Oklahoma fans rocking with the fellas again. This is a program we love talking about. You guys have shown a ton of support. If you do enjoy the content, again, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.